What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Aligning the Stars. I'm Jordan, and we are back with a new series. As you can see, we have the Havoc Marauder from Bad Batch. Now, this one was pretty cool. I was looking and looking and looking, and when it came time to figure out what we were going to do next, took inspiration from my girlfriend. She's like, "Hey, found this. It says Star Wars. It looks pretty cool," and here we are. So, I haven't built an actual model in quite a while. There are a lot of parts and pieces to go with it, pun intended, with the model kit itself as well. But you have to have proper paint brushes. You have to have thinner and paint, and I chose to go with an airbrush paint and cleaning kits and hobby kits and all of the rest. And so it has taken a little while to put together all of the pieces to start to build these. Now, I've got a goal in mind. The goal that I have is to keep stepping up bigger and bigger and bigger with more complex models, introducing new elements to the models as we're going along, practicing getting better, with the end game being I've had my eyes on the 1/350 scale USS Enterprise 1701A, and it's a big boy. It's about going to be the same size as the Enterprise D Eagle Moss build and the Millennium Falcon D Agostini build. So it's a big boy, but it's, instead of coming in pieces and waiting for it, I just get to build it. But the idea is we'll have LED lighting, and we're going to be better at painting and building and doing all of the things that we need to do, so that when I do spend all of the money on that big model, I'm not going to be just ham-handing the way through it. So we're going to start a little small. Now, this model I'm super excited about. It's super cool looking. The ship model itself is super cool, like the one they use in the show. I love the Bad Batch, and so yeah. Now, I have opened the package once, and the reason I opened the package before we do this here is because I needed to take a look and see what I'm gonna need to build, what colors, what I'm gonna need to pick up, that sort of thing. And I just needed to be better informed so that when I started filming and shooting, I'd be able to film and shoot and get going. So I have taken the package off, only briefly looked inside. So let's just go ahead and open her up. And this really takes me back to being a kid. I used to get AMT models all the time when I was a kid. So I'm glad I did choose to go with the airbrush route. Just looking at the color of this, it is light gray, but it's not quite the light gray that I'm looking for. So we have our sprues. Each one of these pieces is going to be individually painted. We're going to be starting some painting at the end of the episode today. I'm going to show you a little bit of the painting process. And so, yeah, we have one package here. Looks like the main body outside, the wings. Super cool. I really love the design of this ship. There are some clear and colored parts. This model could be lit up. I'm not quite ready for that process just yet. And then we have our base with the metal rod. I may set this one off to the side. This model, which is pretty cool, you can choose, as you see here, you can choose how you're going to pose your ship, whether it's on the stand with the wings down. These wings do move, so I'm going to choose to display it with it sitting with the wings up. I really love the way that looks when it's sitting on the ground. So we're probably not going to be using this base, but it's fairly simple to be able to pull that out and include it back in later on. So, and then we have our instructions, and then just a small decal sheet. So there we have it. So with all of these pieces, I'm going to go ahead and put everything back in. I am going to start painting here in just a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about that. As I was getting ready to paint, I realized that I need a paint booth for the airbrush, because it particleizes paint and don't want to have that everywhere. And I was looking online to see how much paint booths cost, and oh my god, like $200, and that's not happening. I've already spent enough money on doing all of this, and like that the thought of that is crazy. So I went ahead and spent $18 and purchased a fan and purchased a LED light. And then I used some Amazon boxes and I created my own super janky, super rough looking paint booth that I'm going to be able to use, but it'll be functional. Eventually, over time, I may upgrade to a paint booth, but this thing is actually, it's all right. I spent a good deal of time working on it last night, and it's janky, but I'm pretty proud of the results. Uh, so yeah, with that being said, as I put the lid back on here, I'm going to take some time, and when I paint, we're going to be painting on the sprues, but I need to take a look at what needs to be painted, look at the directions and all of that before we get into that portion of the video. But I want to talk about how we're going to be approaching this model, and it's going to be kind of the approach that we're going to be taking for most of our models in this model series going forward. We're going to be doing a base coat. We're going to be doing the base gray with the airbrush, and that's going to be all of the external pieces. Everything is going to be painted a custom base gray color with the airbrush. We are then going to clean up all the parts from the sprues as they're coming off of the sprues. And so as we assemble all the stages with glue, this is a snap model. I am not snapping it. We're going to glue it, we're going to clay it, we're going to sand it, we're going to repaint it. So, but as we're assembling all of the stages, as we're separating them from the sprues, we're going to take the time to clean up all of the pieces and make sure everything is nice and tidy before we put everything together. We are going to assemble all of the stages with glue. So after we have all of the stages put together, and when I build the stages, I'm going to do as much where we're not going to be putting the individual pieces together, because I believe that you're going to be building the cockpit section in one piece, and then we're going to be doing the body in another piece, and then you got to take care of the wings in another piece, and then you kind of assemble everything at the end. Or as you're going along, I'm going to build the individual pieces as much as possible and paint the individual pieces on the sprues as much as possible before we put them together. And then after everything is put together, and the only painting that we're going to be doing is going to be with the base coat until all the pieces are assembled. And then we're going to putty and sand all the connections. And then we're going to go ahead and respray all of those pieces and make sure that everything looks seamless and you cannot tell that this was a model being put together. And then we're going to fully assemble the Marauder. Okay. Then after we do that, we're going to do a weathering wet wash. Then after that, we're going to be doing some detail weathering with white and teal paint, and that's what's described in this model. And that's what I was looking for specifically, was what colors specifically am I going to need beyond the basic color palette that I already have? And the answer to that question was teal. And so there's kind of like light sections here. I don't know if it kind of comes through, but here, if we look, you can see here that it's kind of like weathered with white and some teal in there. So that's what we're going to be doing there. Then after we do the weathering, we're going to be doing some color details with the airbrush, getting some yellows and stuff like that put into place. And then finally, we are going to just do a final check, final assembly, and then we're going to display it. So that's going to be kind of the approach that we're going to be taking for every model going forward. It's going to be, methodical. We're going to paint. We're going to let it dry. A lot of this is going to be shot all at once for the sake of like painting and letting it dry and cure, making sure that I'm taking time to clean up the sprues and all of the work around the edges. I want to make sure that everything that we're doing is clean and tidy, and that when this is assembled, it's going to look real good. I'm hoping to buy a little glass display case for this one so we can display it up and it doesn't get all dusty and stuff like that over time. So what we're going to do for the final part of this episode is you're going to watch me do some spraying in a janky homemade paper or cardboard paint box. And the only thing that I don't have, I'm still waiting. Tomorrow, Amazon's arriving with the LED light, so I don't know how the lighting is going to work. I'm still going to include it because why not? But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll kind of show you after everything is said and done, show you what my final thoughts are, and then we'll be out for the episode. So yeah, here we are. We're going to move on to painting some pieces. Join me in my kitchen. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on this first part of the model build, and really, the model itself was fine. Despite the fact that it's a snap together model, looks really good. All the parts, all the plastic feels super high quality. So the model itself, great. I'm super pleased with it. It was a learning process. It took me a minute to figure out how to use the airbrush properly. The first airbrush was just yeah, it was bad. It just was not working properly. The seal wound up breaking part of the way through the process. The reason why I wound up buying the new one was because the seal broke, and it was going to take like 2 weeks to get a seal out, and I just was not going to deal with it. And so, for about $27 at Harbor Freight, I picked up a really super high quality one, and I was able to get the thinner. What I was able to learn from using the first airbrush was, the amount of thinner is important. Letting your airbrush move, not, if you're going to only paint for a little bit, only put a little bit of paint in there, get your thinner right. And so, that was what I was able to learn. And so when I approached it the next day with the new airbrush, as soon as I got the paint in there with the new paint, the paint that I picked up, so the airbrush paint that I also got off of Amazon leaves a little bit to be desired. The stuff that I wound up picking up for the gray color, the light to dark grayish color for the body, which we'll see in the next episode, the color that I picked out was fantastic. And it was this gray that came from basically from mech. It's from mechs. And I was really pleased with it. It sprayed really well. It only needed just a tiny little bit of the thinner. So really pleased with that. But then it just went on so nice. As soon as I fired up the airbrush for the first time, it just went on so incredibly nice. And so, yeah, I was pretty pleased with that. Overall, really excited about where this is going. The color looked good. All of that overspray that wound up happening, I was able to correct, thankfully. I was a little bit worried about that. I have been working on another model as well, just for my own personal time. I've been building a car model, which has been a whole lot of fun. And so I've been practicing with the paint, and I was able to correct all of that overspray. I did a little bit of sanding work, a little bit of wet sanding in between. I didn't capture that just because I was learning to do things. And really that's what this whole first little bit into this, getting back into building models, learning to spray with airbrush. I've done it a couple of times, but it's been a long time. So yeah, overall, just really excited about getting this going, and really looking forward to getting this model put together. So next week, we are going to be assembling the first couple of steps and doing some sanding and putty work. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful day in this beautiful world, wherever you happen to might be. And until we see each other again, the Force will be with you always.